We build upward. Every year, our technology, our financial markets, and our social institutions stack higher, adding layers of complexity to reach further than before. We tend to assume that piling more layers on top signifies a more stable, advanced structure. We view scale and height as indicators of systemic durability. Yet the most advanced configurations we rely on do not gradually show signs of wear. They run perfectly, right up until the second they shatter entirely. This kind of sudden, absolute failure is a predictable feature of modern design. It is built into the way these structures are balanced. In 2008, a minor default rate in the subprime mortgage sector leveled the multi-layered architecture of global finance in a matter of days. Today, a quiet update in a single runtime environment can force a 5-layer global software stack to crash overnight. Though one deals with debt and the other with code, both systems fail under the exact same geometric conditions. They share a specific, hidden structural defect. These systems are built as inverted pyramids. Enormous upper-level complexity rests on a thin foundation, lacking any way to fold back and distribute the load. To understand why these structures decohere, we look at their topology. Systems grow through open extension, an upward drive that the ODTOE framework calls phi. Stability requires a second opposing force, pi. These are closed cycles of self-reference, feedback loops that connect the top levels back down to the base. A classic stone pyramid distributes its load perfectly, rooting every part of the apex in a wide substrate. Modern architecture, however, prioritizes growth while abandoning pi loops. The structure grows taller, but the base shrinks to a point. Without these internal cycles to anchor the structure to its foundation, the system loses its internal consistency. It becomes a stack of assumptions waiting for a reason to fall. In leveraged finance, every new layer of derivatives is built on the assumed coherence of the layer below it. Because there is no mechanism to periodically reaffirm that top-level instruments still correspond to ground-level value, the whole pyramid topples the moment the foundation moves. We see this in a typical 2026 software stack: an app on a framework, on a cloud, on a runtime, on an OS. When a foundational runtime quietly changes behavior, the upper layers continue running blindly for a time, then catastrophically break. Multi-level bureaucracies follow the same logic. They stack rules and mandates, without ever re-grounding those rules in their original purpose. This missing closure eventually forces managers to issue mandates that directly contradict the very goals the organization was founded to achieve. In these cases, the system continues to function only because the participants paper over the contradictions until a single shock exposes the lack of a foundation. This papering over points to the core bottleneck of any complex system: emotional coherence, or E. It is the feedback loop ensuring that the people at the top remain consistent with the system's foundation. A system can have high attention and high empirical reinforcement at its upper levels, but because E is a multiplicative bottleneck, if the loop between the top and the base is severed, the coherence of the entire stack eventually gives way. This is why complex civilizations collapse. They don't just hit a wall, they hollow out from the inside. Their inner closure cycles atrophy. The rituals and audits that once anchored the superstructure to reality are abandoned, leaving the system fragile and exposed to ordinary shocks. Reversing this trend requires actively installing pi loops back into our architectures. In finance, this looks like rigorous mark-to-market practices paired with frequent stress testing to force the top levels to face ground-level reality. In software, it means end-to-end integration testing and chaos engineering, deliberately breaking parts of the stack to ensure the loops are closed. In bureaucracies, closure requires sunset clauses, routine audits, and constant purpose rechecks to ensure the rules still serve their stated foundation. These mechanisms are not optimizations for efficiency. They are the structural requirements for a system to persist. Without them, there is no internal link to hold the structure together. Growth without return is an inverted pyramid. If a system has only addition and no audit, only phi and no pi, it is built for collapse. To survive the future, we must add closure.